Hey everybody, this is Blake here, and I have some bad news. I'm probably not going to be able to edit any more of the Cinema Snob movie until at least Monday. I'm about to leave in like 20 minutes from now to go to my grandparents' house out of town, and I don't plan on getting back here until Monday, so I know I'm way behind schedule, and I really apologize. Please be patient. So far, the video is looking great. I'm really pleased with it. I'm actually getting really impatient just to release it. But so it's worth the wait, but just please be a little bit more patient. Moving on to The Man with the Iron Fists. When I saw the trailer for this movie, I thought it could be either really entertaining or really bad, but it thinks it's really entertaining. And in the end, I think I got a little bit of both. I expected a lot of the bad traits. Like, a lot of the acting isn't very good. There are parts where it's just too silly or stupid. But it also has like a lot more legitimate flaws that take away from the entertainment. At least with the bad acting, it fits for this kind of movie. But it makes a lot of mistakes. In fact, in a lot of ways, this reminded me of Machete, in that it's supposed to be just pure, unapologetic fun. But it has so many blunders that it really diminishes its entertainment value. So first, let me talk about the fight scenes, because the more I think about it, the more I realize you can't just say the fight scenes were good anymore. You have to almost explain why, because there are many different forms of martial arts movie styles, I guess I should say. You have the more traditional choreography where it resembles a dance that's just gritty. Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Donnie Yen, they really use that where, when somebody throws a kick, it's about the other person will dodge it and do some sort of counterattack, and the moves will look really good together. Or you could have the Tony Jaa or Bruce Lee style, where it's more about how authentic the hits look. When Tony Jaa or Bruce Lee would hit somebody, it would look like they really hit them, and it would be real brutal. In fact, I just sum it up as that, brutal realism. And then you have like more smaller styles that aren't really popular anymore, but they have been in the past, such as wire fu. Actually, a style that's growing in popularity these days are when they use a lot of CGI, especially in American films. I haven't seen a whole lot of that in Asian films. But like Ninja Assassin, 300, Sucker Punch, they utilize CGI a lot more than a lot of these older films. Well, with this one, it's less about choreography and more about gimmicks. It's more exploitation than it is a kung fu film, in my opinion. When you see a fight scene occur, it's less about the techniques being used or how the moves flow together. It's more about people getting their eyes knocked out or their heads kicked off or them being ripped open, or it'll be some weird gimmick like a person who could turn their body into steel. It's much more of a fantasy film, in fact, than I'd say it's a typical kung fu film. And I'm not criticizing that either. I'm saying that with complete neutrality. I thought it utilized all that stuff pretty well. I mean, I think they went a bit heavy on the CGI. I would have rather they gone like the Riki-Oh route, where it's just practical effects, and they're much more grisly because of that. For some reason, CGI just doesn't look as extreme as practical effects do when it comes to gore. So just take that as you will, because the action there's a lot of it. It's almost non-stop when it comes to the action and spectacle, and there's a lot of effort put into like weapon designs, and the sets look really good. I was actually surprised considering it has a real small budget, but for example, the whorehouse looks spectacular, just like something you'd see in an old kung fu film, because I'm obviously a huge fan of these types of movies. I even made Kick-Ass of Awesome just to celebrate my appreciation of martial arts films. So I had no problem with that. But when it came to the story, it's really convoluted and it's real sloppy and unfocused. Now, I've actually heard that originally it was supposed to be 4 hours long, and they were considering cutting it into 2 different movies, but they changed their mind apparently, and they just trimmed it to a 90-minute film. And I think that was a mistake, because it really makes this movie seem incredibly messy and all over the place. So first off, what is the story? the government gets this clan called the Golden Lions to, I can't remember if it was just to guard some gold or escort it someplace, or if it was just to even clean out the town, so when the gold passes through, nobody would try to steal it. But the head of the Golden Lions is killed by the second and third command, and they steal the gold for themselves, and it's pretty much just how all these various people are interacting with them in some way. The original leader who was killed, his son wants revenge, so he comes. The blacksmith, played by Reza, he gets dragged into it. And there's a rogue soldier, played by Russell Crowe, who he has his own ideas for it. You don't really know what that character is about until later on in the movie. And it has actually these really interesting characters, and it's not so much that they're well written, but the actors are given a lot of room to explore and have a lot of fun with them. So, like, Russell Crowe is awesome. He's actually much more of a main character than I expected, because when you see him in the trailers, he's not really doing anything but talking. I thought that was kind of weird. What would Russell Crowe, I keep saying Kurt Russell, or thinking Kurt Russell, but why is Russell Crowe in a freaking martial arts film? But he's surprisingly prominent, and he's a lot of fun. He doesn't treat this movie as if it's beneath him. He's really going all out here, and I was really thrilled with that. And Lucy Liu's really good too. I liked, is his name Rick Yoon? All I know is he was a ninja assassin. He apparently has done a lot more direct-to-DVD films too, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. And then all sorts of like smaller characters, whether they're played by a traditionally good actor or not, or whether the actor could be bad but they're entertainingly bad. I thought everybody in their own way was interesting, except the main character. Now everybody's been really criticizing Reza's performance, and yet it's weird because I wouldn't say it was like awful, but compared to everybody else, he's just really boring. He's not charismatic at all. When you're, especially when you're with somebody like Kurt Russell, who's really charismatic and really entertaining, it just makes somebody like Reza seem so boring. And what's weird is that I think even Reza knows this, because his character is barely in the first half of this movie. He's narrating it for some reason, but it seemed like the first half of the film was focusing on the setup, all these other characters, and even the victim fodder. Like, they'll introduce characters such as this couple called the Gemini Killers, and we know they're going to die as soon as they arrive, because even though they're supposed to be elite, they're guarding the gold, and we know the bad guys have to win. But they have like these pointless scenes where they're talking about how these ribs are spicy, and you almost wonder, okay, maybe they're building up something, maybe these are main characters, but then they just die. And there's a few other characters who are just like that, who seem to be getting screen time for no reason, and they're still more entertaining than the blacksmith played by Reza. And but every once in a while they'll show him just to remind us that he is there. But then during the second half, he suddenly becomes the main character, where he gets most of the screen time. He suddenly gets a flashback backstory, and it's really awkwardly handled. In fact, I think the character in itself could have worked, but I don't know if it was just Reza's weak acting skills, or if it was just the way that character was suddenly shoehorned into the story. It doesn't work in this context. So he's suddenly getting all the screen time. He even gets the final fight, even though up until, like I said, the second half or so, it was Rick Yoon's character who was pretty much the main protagonist, with Russell Crowe being very secondary. And they don't even really know how to use Russell Crowe half of the time. He's just having sex most of the time we see him. And he's still a lot of fun, but in terms of story, he doesn't really start fitting in until later in the film either. So it's weird, because I think all these characters, they would have worked if they had their own movie, because none of these subplots are totally boring, but it's just them cramming them all together really makes the narrative start stumbling over itself, and it really starts slowing down the pace, because you'll have like a real intense scene with one character and sort of a mundane scene with another character, and that's just not how you build a story. It's not how you make it, more exciting as the story progresses or whatever. And I think really what they should have done is if they wanted to make this movie about the man with the iron fist, since, you know, it's named after him, it should have started off where he was a slave or whatever, and, you know, moved into him arriving at China, becoming a monk, you know, into his corruption, and then, you know, the finale. But then at the same time, that would mean more screen time from Reza, who's the most boring actor in the whole movie. So, I don't know, it's a mess. And, I think a major problem is just because it was originally 4 hours long, apparently. You're not supposed to write an exploitation film or a kung fu film and make it that long. You're doing something wrong. But you can't cut it down either, because that's just going to kill the story. Usually, I can't think of a single instance where a film was cut down that extensively and it was good. Now, as I said, The Man with the Iron Fist is entertaining, usually, but these are the types of flaws that shouldn't be present. It should be, yeah, it should have some bad acting, some cruddy production value, some corny dialogue, and, you know, I could even forgive a few plot holes or absurd moments, but this is just bad screenwriting. It's not fun bad screenwriting. So that was a major problem, and I think really, in a way, actually, even though I don't know how much Eli Roth had to do with the script or whatever, it makes the same mistake I think a lot of his movies make, where you could tell that, you know, Reza and Eli Roth are huge fans of their respective genres, and but that enthusiasm causes them to easily derail their own stories. You know, constant homages can only take you so far. Quentin Tarantino at least seems to know how to package it in a way that's really compelling. In fact, if he had done this movie, it would have been amazing. But as such, you know, it was still pretty fun, I guess. You just have to take it as it is and understand that it makes a lot of mistakes. I also didn't like the rap songs. I'm not a big fan of rap in general, but I could have been okay with it if it was just maybe the ending credits. Even the opening credits I could have overlooked, but sometimes they'll have a fight scene and they'll start playing some rap song. I just never felt that rap and kung fu went together very well. So I think that's really all I have to say. So would I recommend it? If you like movies such as Machete, because that makes, I think, a lot of the same mistakes, except Danny Trejo was significantly cooler than Reza. I think it's worth watching. It's just a question of, do you want to go to the theaters and see it, or do you want to wait till it comes out on DVD? Because I'm not particularly enthusiastic, but I wasn't angry either. I enjoyed myself for the most part. I keep saying that over and over again. So you just have to decide for yourself. But I wouldn't say don't pay full price if you're going to the theaters. At the most, matinee. So that is all. If you'd like to read my written review, please check the link in my description. Follow me on Twitter and all that nonsense. And once again, I'm sorry about the Cinema Snob movie review taking so long. But it'll be great when it comes out, or it should be anyway. Bye.